Good evening, everyone. Venus Aerospace raises a 90 million Series B for a new kind of rocket engine. Blue Origin, however, says, hold my beer. NASA's Inspector General may have declared SLS unsustainable at $4.1 billion a launch. That didn't stop House appropriators from doubling down. Did you know that China has 400 private space companies? Well, you do now. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to check out, also follow Rocket Lab's wild stock ride that may actually give SpaceX a challenge. Do you think swapping a worker for AI saves money? Well, wait till you get the computer bill. Roscosmos declares investment in Russia's private space sector could exceed $1.3 billion by 2030. And here we go again, more on public-private partnerships on Mars, no less. OrbitFab hires a new CEO and raises some funding. And ISAR Aerospace is building a launch complex at Spaceport Nova Scotia, a $112.5 million deal. All that on our guest, Solange Massa. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. Good evening, everyone. And as you know, this show is brought to you by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. Now, what do we do? Of course, you know. We champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space-adjacent enterprises worldwide through advisory access and advocacy. Our legendary pitch events and world-class boot camps fortify startups to be better investor-ready. A lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by our listeners and fans like you. So just go to cscf.space/support and click that plain as day donate button. A little in the tip jar each month makes a big difference. Don't forget to like and subscribe and tell your friends. Now, speaking of friends, my oldest space friend, Michael Lane, who is training his new pet porcupine, is here with me. Come on in, man.
Pet porcupine. Well, hello. How are you?
I'm good. Remember, there's a lot of animal spirits in Native American spiritual tradition. A lot more than you think, and a porcupine is one of them.
Oh yeah.
So I have a list of that to work from now. By the end of the year, you'll have a petting zoo in your house.
Excellent.
Which you got to get those thorns out of your hair. You got to pick those out of there.
Right. I can't do this any other way. Thanks for our guest for being here. We'll bring you on in about 25 minutes or so. We do the news beforehand, so maybe there was a little bit of miscommunication, but glad you're here, and hopefully sound checks and mic checks, sound checks and video look good. We can see you in the background. No one else can, so don't change anything, and hopefully the sound will be all right. Anyway, let's get to it. Hey, how are things, Tom?
Things are okay. Dallas is serious. He asked me if I finally got my SpaceX shares. Yeah, that put option didn't quite work out the way I thought it was going to. Apparently, those things close out like in another week. So I don't know what thing's going to be, on the 19th or the 17th, I think it was, and we'll see in a week or so if it's still that way. Otherwise, he's got another put option in at 135 in August. Why?
Well,
because it's been 2 months.
That's when they're going to do their.
And that's what a lot of trading is going to go on. Right. So I might get it then for even cheaper.
Okay. All right. Good luck. Yeah, that's supposed to be when their first earnings call is going to be, and Ron 2 weeks ago said it's going to be down in the 50s, not 100
by the end of the year. Yeah,
right. So
50.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm that bearish, but we'll see.
I'm not that bearish either, but I don't have any skin in this game. So hopefully
Right.
everybody gets what they want. Jason, Joe, Dallas, thanks for being here. Morty, appreciate it.
Morty, hey.
Okay. All right, let's get into the news. What do you want
Let's dive right in.
Venus, right? Yep.
Yeah, first up, Venus Aerospace, 90 million Series B. It says to build a new kind of rocket engine. And this company was founded 6 years ago by a husband and wife duo.
Cool. Yep.
Sassy and Andrew Duggleby.
Yep.
And they want to develop clean flying hypersonic jets for passenger travel. But after demonstrating the engine, the plans changed last year.
Yep.
It says, oh, you have a working RDRE. Would you sell us one? I was like, okay.
Yep.
Now they're focused on hypersonic weapons development and replacing the solid rocket motors that power many of those missiles with their own thruster and other high-speed vehicles that will appeal to the military. Right. So now they're bringing a new propulsion architecture that combines efficiency, throttling, usability, and manufacturability in a way that their customers will need for defense and space missions. So that is a huge change.
It is kind of a big deal. You know, this rotating detonation engine, I mean, it's been in science fiction for a long time.
Yep.
And their big breakthrough is they figured out how to do it where they don't melt the engine.
Yeah.
That seems like a pretty good, important detail.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious to see where this goes. People have been talking about it for a long time. This is the second company that I'm aware of that's working on this, but these are by far the largest. There's another one up here in Seattle that's not doing as great, but yeah, well, I'm not going to pretend I know the physics of why this is a better, more efficient engine. But
well, the manufacturing bit is a lot different. It's a lot more efficient. They're bringing a lot of 3D printing into the mix.
Yeah.
On this, so that's got to help.
Yeah. All right. Good luck to Venus. Moving on.
Yeah, but this is why I said after that, Blue Origin says, "Hold my beer," because they're raising $10 billion.
Yeah. Yeah, Dallas. Yes, we got that. Thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, hold my beer is maybe the right answer. I am glad that they are finally doing this. There's still a lot of grumbling locally in the Seattle economy about, folks that left SpaceX to go to Blue for better quality of life and pretty much equal pay, but pretty much this, a higher quality of living. Mm-hmm. And there's definitely some folks that are pissed off about this. But hopefully this is the first thing that kind of, rights that ship a little bit.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too, I mean, it's been basically Jeff's and Amazon's money.
Oh yeah, no, it's
for all these years.
Yes.
So this is the first time they've actually gone to the well.
Yeah, exactly.
So they must be pretty confident in what they're coming up with.
To clarify that, it's not Amazon's money. It is Jeff's personal money.
We know what I mean. That's where it came from originally.
Oh, for sure. He sells Amazon stock to put money into this, for sure.
Exactly.
But they've been really clear that it's a single investor over this whole during its whole 20-year lifespan. So, and what he's doing, I think this is kind of important, is he is still putting in the same $2 billion that he's been committing for years. It's just that he's bringing other people into it. Mm-hmm. I wonder what that's gonna, here they've got a $130 billion valuation. That's not even 10% of what SpaceX has. Is that a fair valuation? I don't know. I'm not the guy that's going to have an opinion on that, but are they 90% behind SpaceX? Is that a fair evaluation? I don't know, but
this is going to be one of those topics we're going to be revisiting again and again, because
again and again,
you already know next year, hopefully at ISDC, if not
right?
somewhere else, we're
Right.
going to do that panel, the IPO 1 year later, and all of this kind of data is going to come spewing forth from a
Right.
host of people.
Right.
It's going to be that's going to be fun.
It's going to be a good panel. Yeah. Okay. So good luck to Blue. I think that's probably a good market move. And, one thing that I don't think people are really paying attention to is, $2 billion a year for a long time adds up. Let's call it 40 billion total investment. They are now getting a quarter of that in 1 year. That, I think, is probably important.
Yeah.
That amplifies whatever signal they have.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah,
Well,
Dallas, 100% control over Blue. That's exactly right.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting tidbit that's coming up. So the NASA's Inspector General, we've talked about this a week or so ago.
Right.
They said that, hey, 4.1 billion launch for SLS is unsustainable. So what does the House Appropriation Committee do? They just added another billion above that, and for bad reallocation.
Right.
So they doubled down on a bad idea. So,
yeah.
I had to throw that in there because unless you don't see it in print somewhere, it's just, you can't believe a story like that.
No, it's like, wait, am I reading that right?
Yeah.
You're like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. Like the person,
I hate to say this. Is this some kind of a weird formation of Trump derangement syndrome? Is that like because it was Trump's budget? Okay, we're going to reject it, because we hate him. I don't know. I don't get it anymore.
You put your faith. I mean, the point of an inspector general's office is to be the outside, hopefully voice of reason, to examine what's going on. Is this the right thing? How much is it going to cost? And then to give advice. And you usually don't ignore the inspector general of any organization. NASA has one. The Department of the Army has one. Even the CIA has an inspector general. Like all of the big orgs in NASA, in the federal government, have an inspector general, and you're not supposed to ignore them. But they're like, here's what we're doing. So
I know a guy like that. One of our friends, their in-law, like this woman's father-in-law, was maybe NASA. I don't remember his NASA of the Air Force. He was an inspector general.
Okay.
Back during the Apollo days. Way back then. So he's like 90 something now, right?
Yeah, sure.
But he's still like sharp, and he has, and he has stories to tell, and how he did things. And oh my God, why would you not listen to a guy like that?
Right. I'm gonna read this. By the way, who thinks that this language is AI written? It's two numbers that sit alongside each other. That's how my AI talks all the time. Not a person. A person does not talk that way. Two figures then. The first is a 4.1 billion per launch, an audit conclusion produced by an internal accounting office whose job is precisely to identify costs that the agent itself cannot or will not. The second is roughly $1 billion, the amount added by House Appropriations above NASA's own SLS request in a single appropriation cycle, accompanied by binding language preventing reprogramming. Oh, man.
But they followed up again. The structural question it raises is not whether SLS should exist or not, or whether the Artemis architecture is the right approach. Those are separate arguments. The question is narrower and more interesting when an agency's inspector general, their own budget submission, and the executive branch's OMB all point towards spending less on a particular line item, and the legislative branch responds by spending more. What is the appropriations process actually optimizing for? That is a huge, vaguely important question.
how are you supposed, as an entrepreneur at that intersection of space and money, how are you supposed to take that signal? Like business as usual, the old way, or yeah, it's
Well,
kind
what
of
happens is it doesn't happen at all.
yeah,
That signal is so conflicting. You just have to sit back and fold your arms and just punt and watch
right.
until something definitive comes out either way, and then you know what move to make. But you can't make any decisions based on something like this right now.
Yeah.
You can't.
Dallas has got an insight here. I feel like it's worth bringing up. SLS will continue to be funded until other launch vehicles successfully fly. SLS has successfully flown twice.
Yep.
I get that, but and we don't want to lose capability. I'm all for that. And of course, money in their districts and states, for sure, that's a driver. We always know that. But it is frustrating to watch this kind of play out the way that it is. This is the kind of thing that killed Beale Aerospace 25 years ago or whatever it was. This is exactly the kind of hostile signal to industry that cost them, and I think that set us back decades. So, all right, let's move on. You got anything else on this one?
Okay. Oh, okay. Here it is. Here's the interesting one. This is probably 10 years ago. China did not have a space industry, a private space sector at all.
Yep.
And now they have 400 companies, and no one's
Yeah.
paying attention to this. But whether those companies are any good or not, whatever they're doing but they're doing all sorts of things, from launch services to tourism to even trying to mine asteroids and the moon. So you got to wake up and take a look at this again. Okay, because we always talk about the cislunar economy and and how the industrial economy is going to come out, and you've got somebody playing the game here, and you better start paying attention to them. That is huge, and as a bulk, that's competition for what the rest of us are building over here.
Right. Now, there's a couple things in here that are kind of worth pointing out. So I really was interested in this article. It's why I sent it to you in the first place. The defense sector has been watching this. They are aware of just how far China is pushing. Let's just like the country. This is their quote. I don't know what the source is. This is from Fortune magazine, but I don't know where they got this number particularly. But 2024, the combined value of the company's 100 largest space firms was estimated at roughly $100 billion. All right. That's 100 companies that if they were all unicorns, well, they're certainly not all unicorns, right? That's not how that works. And we've got SpaceX that that's valued, let's say, $2 trillion, and we just talked about Blue by itself is being valued at $130 billion. So they are pretty far back, but you got 400 companies out there that are all state funded, because that's how it works over there. And in America, some people guess that we have 3,000 funded companies. That number is super fuzzy, but still, right? 10%. They're at 10% right now.
Well, I guess the message here is ignore them at your peril.
Right. Exactly right. Yeah. I think it's an interesting article. There's actually quite a bit to it. I don't know the author, Rainier Zeidelman, so I can't. What I couldn't find in here was where they got the source of their information. I wanted to kind of look at where they pulled this from, but I couldn't find it. So can't verify the source. But I thought it was pretty interesting, and if it's right, China's the real deal. We know it.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, for the last couple of just a few short months ago, Rocket Lab was trading at $4 and $4.80.
Right. Yep.
$4.80.
Right.
And now a week ago it was 101.
Yeah.
Because of their acquisitions and all their plans that they're making and the new contracts that they're getting.
Yep.
And so it's a wild ride, but it looks like, they call it an $8 billion SpaceX showdown. Well, because they did acquire some actual capacity.
Yeah.
Existing capacity that they're going to make work for them. So they're in the game.
I genuinely believe that Rocket Lab is a solid company. And people should not be ignoring them. People asked me what I thought about SpaceX for the last several months, and I could not tell them what I thought. I did not have a clear answer. But I'm like, what I do have confidence in, I have confidence in Rocket Lab. So, So again, always say this is not investment advice.
I love that part. The re-rating from SPAC purgatory to 80 billion.
Yeah. I mean, we were the first to throw the SPAC folks under a bus, right? We were.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. Michael Mealing said something really kind of smart and philosophical when they came out. All the SPACs, not just about Rocket Lab, but he's like, all of these companies that wouldn't pass muster for knowledgeable investments, they went to the fans in the community that were hopeful, and that they bypassed knowledgeable money to get ignorant money. And that's what the whole SPAC wave was about. SPACs are back. There's 3 companies in the last couple of weeks that have all gone the SPAC route. And they're counting on what happened here to help them in the future. But re-rating from purgatory to $60 billion. Good for them.
Well, everything's making a comeback. SPACs are making a comeback. IPOs themselves are making a comeback.
Right. Yep.
Remember, after the big financial crisis back in the late aughts, and then a whole bunch of new regulations came in, you couldn't buy an IPO for several years after that.
No.
There wasn't any.
No.
Make that move. It was just expensive for them. And now all of a sudden, the whole idea is roaring back.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Jonathan is talking about Stoke as well. They're doing well. So it's going to be good on them. Good for Rocket Lab. Good for the industry. Step by step, we'll get there.
Yep. Okay.
2 more. Let's just kind of close up with 2 more articles, and then.
Yep. Okay. Well, the next one up is a kind of a word of caution, because it was apparently NVIDIA, not just any company, but NVIDIA was using AI to replace human operators and to do things, and now the cost of the computing is higher than the employee they can.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. This is NVIDIA, and so it's like, these are the dangers everywhere you go now. I don't know if that's going to affect the great new wave of AI IPOs and all the other stuff that's going to happen in the future, but that's an interesting thing to come out right now.
Right. Yeah. His comment, and this is the vice president of applied deep learning, put it plainly: for my team, the cost of compute is far beyond the cost of employees. In the Seattle region, if you're anything AI, you are north of $250,000 a year. Anything. If you do anything at all in AI, so that tells you a lot about what they're spending on compute. Glad it's not my team that has to pay for that.
No,
Yeah.
well, if you're serious about only doing one more thing, then we can do one more thing, and
Yeah. Which one you want?
then I don't have to talk about public-private partnerships on Mars.
Okay.
I don't
All
have to
right.
talk about that.
All right.
It's just not
What?
my favorite topic, but
Right.
it was in the news. But TASS has said that investment in Russia's private space sector could exceed 1.3 billion by 2030. Doesn't seem like a lot in the grand scheme of things with the global space economy.
Right.
But I guess it's given they're at war and all the other stuff they're working on, and they're working on because they have to pay their share of bringing down the ISS
Mm-hmm.
in that same amount of time. So I guess for them to have any forward motion at all in their private commercial sector is something for them to cheer about.
Sure. We just talked about um, how China's at $100 billion already in their value, and I don't know what the American space sector is, but I think it's exceeded 670 billion now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have some catching up to do. But my opinion of Russia at this point. It's a vassal state of China, and it'll stay that way until Putin is just deposed, and maybe forever. So I have no confidence in Russia as a nation to contend with at this point. So. All right, that was kind of a bummer segment. Let's bring in our guest, and
Oh, absolutely. We have a wonderful guest. So glad she could come today. I never heard of her company before, so this is going to be a lot of fun to hear about it.
Yep.
Yeah, if I'm saying this right, Solange Massa.
Solange. but we were close, so you're good.
Okay, cool. The CEO of Eco Atoms, who's a space manufacturer, and you've got this great resume there, and you've done a whole bunch of things, and have NASA contracts. You've won a lot of awards. You won the Blue Origin Reef Starter Innovation Challenge, and all sorts of incredible things. And so, when you used to be a lead investment fellow at Life Science Angels and facilitated strategic investments, so you've been all over the place, and welcome to our show. Glad to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the flexibility around my engineering schedules and payloads and flights.
Sorry about the confusion. Glad you were able to move things around a little bit. We'll have a hard stop at the top of the hour. You're welcome to chat afterwards. We do sometimes talk to folks afterwards off the air, but you're welcome to do that, or no, if you got a bolt, feel free. Glad you're here. By the way,
on our show, they just bolt.
You sound good. What's that, Tom?
Sometimes after being on our show, they just bolt.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
We're out. We our producer Sean is traveling, so I think that kind of was where some of the bobble happened. But so I'm doing some of the background stuff, so it's a little chaotic today. But
you're good. We're here now.
We're here now. So we always talk about that intersection of money and space. Hence, rattling off all these stats for the sector. But we always start with an origin story. So, I'm going to put your LinkedIn profile up, but why don't you tell a little bit about who you are? How does that money and space intersection impact you, what you're doing, and then we'll go into more details.
Let's start by saying that my accent is from Argentina, so born and raised there. And I made my way into the US. I was trained as an MD originally, right? Then a PhD in biophysics, went to the dark side, never came back. Had a lot of fun there, did a postdoc. After I did my research work in the East Coast, and I did a postdoc in the West Coast in radiation, and got very close to therapies that were cancer related, have patents around that, but space has a lot of radiation induced diseases. So that's kind of how I started my career in space, if you will. And when I patented a couple of things, I started seeing that pharmaceuticals were interested in our patents, and I had and going to the money thing here, I was a pretty decent scientist, but I knew nothing about how company works and then how to move a product through a pipeline, how to align that product to what the company wants. So after that, I was an investment fellow for 2.5 years. And so many pitch decks from companies. I was like, well, maybe I can do this, that's when the confidence kicked in a little bit more. And in the pandemic, I saw all these second layer companies, capsules, new stations, and things kind of start to pop up. And they are they're a wonder at aerospace, right? But maybe they're not very focused on the client and the product. So that's when I started focusing. Hey, I understand that part of uh, maybe biological development or materials development. I understand it pretty well. And I called a friend at Blue Origin in she is a wonder of a person. And she was very honest. She said, hey, I don't think you're gonna get it. You're out of your garage, but like just apply,
Right.
You'll get NASA feedback and that would be great. The card that I was hiding from everybody maybe was that I called people that were like a director at a satellite company and so on. So my team was very strong. I was still out of my garage, and I thought I put my real address. So it was like, if they Google this, you're gonna see a garage door, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I was like, and it was fine, right? And they actually did, to my surprise. Like the chief technology said, I actually Googled you, and I saw a house in the Bay Area. And
Right.
and you know what? I got it, and the chances were minimal. And after that, contract after contract after contract, and then the company grew. We moved to Reno. Now we have 3 labs. We flew 4 times to space in 2.5 years, and we're flying 3 missions now in the next quarter. So things grow. Things can start in a garage, even if they're cliche. And I always tell people it doesn't matter where you start, even if it's in the end of the world, being a medical doctor. I mean, just give it a try. You never know what happens.
I love that. I love that. Fun fact: we almost set up shop in Reno
Oh, really?
almost 24 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was
We
a
opened
very
the-
different city from now. Now we have
Oh, and we were so fresh faced back then.
Yeah.
Just
very, very different city than the one that we have now with Tesla, Sierra Nevada, Voyager, all these companies that are in town and growing right now with Sun with manufacturing. So things are growing here in Reno.
When you talk about having 3 labs, what does that mean? Like, what do you do in those 3 labs?
That is a very good question. So what we specialize in is weird payloads. And by weird, I mean chemical, biological, manufacturing, what nobody wants to do. Because then you have all the aerospace problems, which are hardware and software. And we know vibration, shock, and all those problems typical of space, EMI, EMC. But now you add a component that is, how do I keep bacteria alive on the moon, for example?
Right.
Or how do I take this Fortune 500 company that it's a chemical company and test their products in microgravity? So I like fun challenges, and I still like science. So the combination of that makes us develop these weird payloads, which NASA apparently likes.
Cool.
So are these kind of things? They're all very specialized types of payloads. It can be different every time. You're kind of one and done, and then you move on to something.
That's also a great question. We try not to do that. So what we developed under a contract was a universal payload interface. So our computer can interface with 20 vehicles with no engineering. So we just change the top, like a Lego structure.
Yep.
So when it comes to building payloads, right, we don't want to be that one and done. And actually, we're scaling our Ares payload, which is our manufacturing for sensors. It carried 400 samples on the last slide, and we're thinking how to do that for Starship eventually and high volume situations. But no, we hate one and done. We hate it. We don't want to become a government contractor, a typical one. We want to do things that are reproducible and that other people can use, right? Our universal payload interface is being used by people that want to do drones and other industries as well. So no ones and dones.
Okay, so how's that going to work? Because here's the thing. I mean, you want to build universal types of interfaces. I know at least 2 or 3 other companies, one in Europe called JBoss, that they're doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a race to build the best standardization models, and hopefully you'll win?
That's a great question. So the General Electric play, right, becoming the plug for all appliances, if you
Yeah.
will, that's one thing, right? That's just the plug. In our case, it's power and comms.
Okay.
Equadams has a different trick, right? Which is very public. You can go to our website and download the payload interface guide. It's not a secret, but we work with computers, right? We work with FPGA-based systems. So you're not buying a connector. You can build your whole experiment like a very advanced Raspberry Pi situation, because we want to eliminate those Raspberry Pis out of the system.
Yep.
But now you have a computer that makes decisions in the pico nanosecond, right? So we are not a connector, we're a build-up payload. So you are saving from 200K to millions in engineering, depending on your project. So no, we don't want to be the connector, because that's a very cheap interface that can be plugged and play. We do want to be able to connect your experiment, that might be bio, chem, sensors, in a seamless way to the rest of the vehicle, which is a little bit different from the plays that we've seen out there. Doing a connector is not difficult. Doing a computer that connects all these peripherals to all these vehicles, that was fun. That was a lot of fun for the engineering team. When what's the input voltage, and I came with a range,
Okay, so the future isn't actually in adapters, right?
Yes, but yeah, I would say expensive adapters. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
They're a little bit expensive, just a bit. And adapters that, again, can, if paired with GPUs and CPUs or high performance computers, can do machine learning. So these adapters are special adapters.
Yep. I'm going to comment to Jason. Yeah, we have a guest on the show often named Cube, and they are also working on interfaces. We, our team, Tom and I, we've been really pushing the idea of interconnectivity, standards, modularization, Lego. We're sick of saying it, but we keep saying it because it's so important. We had a guest on our show now twice. His name is Dr. Mark Levinson. He wrote a book called The Box.
Okay.
And it might not seem relevant to our industry, but I promise you that it is. He is a historian and an economist that watched the development of Connex shipping containers and how standardizing the box changed global shipping. And our industry right now is exactly at the place that the global shipping industry was in the 1950s. And
look, I just bought the book. I'm a big fan of design. I love Dieter Ram's work, right? Which is this engineering guy from Brown or design. I don't know if he was even an engineer. And developed all these racks, all these plugs, all these appliances. And I feel like we're not solving a physics problem here, right? We're just solving design. And I feel like somebody invented a container or invented a better blender, we can learn from all those stuffs, Smart people are in all industries. So I try to take that and make it my own. Our payloads are inspired in Japanese junctions. So if you see them, they're going to feel very unfamiliar because they're not the typical mid-deck locker that you see in the ISS or those typical standards. We went for a plug and play closer to Japanese design. So I'm a big fan, just bought the book. We'll see how that goes.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. I'm going to switch gears for just a second because I'm really interested in where was it? The thing you did with Blue Origin. People who know me know that that's my favorite space company.
Oh, really?
We're next door neighbors. We're next door neighbors.
How is it your favorite space company?
Okay, I'm going to throw them under the bus before I tell them why I like them. But I think their turtle and their turtle mascot and their Grididum ferocitor is like the dumbest thing in space, and it's the thing that's held them back for 20 years. So if you really want to move people off Earth, then maybe don't use a turtle as your mascot. But I do. I like what they do. I like how they do it. Even when they have a big setback and they blow up their launch pad, nobody got killed. That speaks a lot to their ethos for their people and their safety culture. So, maybe it wouldn't have been good
Look,
if it didn't.
I worked twice with them already, and they're a wonder to work with. They are intelligent and thoughtful throughout the organization, or the people that I've worked with. So the people that they hire are very rounded people, and I really enjoy working with those kind of good human, good engineering. That's what I try to hire for. Sometimes I think about the turtle, right? In mythology, the turtle was the one holding Earth, right? So I'm like, I don't know if that's a hidden message or what's going on with the turtle, but yeah, I don't know. I respect them very much, and it's a pleasure to work with them every time I work with them. So we need more competition in space. So the more the merrier, even in my space. So I wish them well, a speedy recovery. Yeah, and let's go to the moon.
Absolutely. What did you do with their orbital reef program? I'm definitely interested in their plan to build space stations. That's the thing
I
like
don't know the internal plans. The orbital reef, we were one of the winners because they were looking for market uses for the station beyond the typical small scientific experiment, right? Which is what the ISS is more used to. They were looking for high throughput products, so that's why we won that. But then we flew under a NASA contract with them twice with the Ares payload for coding of biosensors. So we had that relationship in those two things. I'm hoping to keep that relationship as we build towards the moon, which we have already started. So yeah, looking forward to working with them again.
Cool. Do you are you focused on orbital, or are you focused on the moon? It seems from your site it's mostly orbital, yeah?
That's what we've done, and many of the payloads you see there are probably TRL-9 because many of them already flew. So for me, it's good to show what has worked, right? I don't want to tell the customer, say you are on a TRL-4 here, good luck. Which is the reality of many of the payloads inside NASA and outside NASA, right? Is I would tell people, don't tell people you have a space company. Have you flown, right? Have you flown a product? Because that brings a lot of failure, a ton of failure, and a ton of learnings. So I try to put the products out there that we're not working on, the ones that we've flown already, or that we're about to fly. We are already working on 2 lunar projects, one that was in LEO already, and that is being retrofitted for lunar purposes. And then we're working on mobility solutions as well for lunar, and I can't say anymore, but yeah. we have our eye on the moon and hopefully Mars, right? I don't want to die before that. I'd like to see that. We'll see what happens. I depend on rockets, right?
When we end the show in about 15 minutes or so, we always ask, what does 5 years look like and what does 25 years look like? So just kind of have that in the back of your head, because where do you want to be in 5 years? So
right.
Tom, you were going to say something?
Yeah, absolutely. Because so sometimes my brain works in different ways. When I see the word space manufacturing, when I think about it, somebody's building a factory in space to build something. And that's my first thought. You're not doing that. You are building custom satellites and other types of gear to spec for launch. Is that something you would consider? I think the future is going to go in that direction, because it seems to me if you can build it up there, you don't need to space harden what you've built up there.
True.
So you can build things with better capability.
Right? That's a whole industry. That's ISAM. Arguably, because we did hundreds of coatings in space in our payload, we are manufacturing in space. We're one of the few that manufactured hundreds of experiments in space at the same time. And we did coatings, right? So it's not manufacturing the way you think about welding, maybe, but if you think about coating of sensors, of a glucose sensor or a biochemical sensor, it is very much manufacturing. Maybe not on the traditional ISM idea.
Sure. But we are 3D printing already. We've been doing that for a long time now.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, we do the payloads, but we also do manufacturing and like pretty non-traditional manufacturing, but manufacturing nonetheless.
How big do you guys expect to scale some of those techs, some of those technologies?
Great question. So some of the technology and things that we've discovered might not need space. Maybe I can replicate the same method on Earth. Maybe they do not need to go to space. And that's super important to say, because sometimes you got discoveries and say, hey, can I reproduce this with a vacuum or a technique or something like that on Earth, which makes economic sense, right? Not everything needs to go to space. Sometimes it's discovery, sometimes it's scalability. When it comes to growth, there's some payloads that are instruments, right? So if one payload will do DNA extraction, there's not a lot of scalability of the product, right? It can go to the moon, Mars, and so on, but it's still a piece of equipment. When it comes to the sensors, though, and the chemicals, that has scalability because a payload that it's, 50-kilogram payload can be stacked. And then instead of 400 sensors, you do 4,000 sensors at the same time, and then present them to FDA. So I have products that have clear scalability and other products that are just instruments, right? And people are asking for those computers and instruments here on Earth. So there's a market, but again, it's not, you're not scaling a product, you're scaling an instrument, and it looks very different in terms of numbers.
Did your PhD dissertation, did it point you in a particular direction for the kinds of things you're trying to build in space? It's really hard for me to tell. I looked at it and I'm like, I don't understand what I'm looking at.
Look, the irony of life. I have several clients now asking for organs on a chip. I developed organs on a chip when I was back in the East Coast. It was a huge defense project, and I think my PI at the time thought I was much more senior than I was because I had an MD. So he put me in charge of a lot of biological developments. And it was a lot of fun because it was a lot of stress, but I got 10 publications out of that, right? So I really work Sunday to Sunday. And that product, organ on a chip, my husband, who has an MBA, very nicely put at the end of my degree, was like, and how is this useful, right? He was like, what's my market? That was like, I appreciate the support there. 10 years later, after the PhD, the FDA started approving organs in a chip as a replacement or decreasing the animal model. So I was like, you see, 10 years later, my grain of sand. So many people now are using organs in a chip in space to test drugs, to see how cells react. All the irony of life, right? You never know what this is useful for. They ended up in the FDA and in the ISS. So 100% related with my current products, but it was not intentional. It
was a 10-year gap between idea and capabilities.
And we were one of the first. The Wyss Institute was one of the first. My institute at Harvard was second or third. So it was very cutting edge. Nobody knew it was going to work and what was that for, right? The irony of life, completely unplanned.
Oh, I get that because I started out as a biologist myself by training. I worked in medical stuff for a long time, but then I ended up in a 31-year IT career, and then came around doing the space business thing that we do. We do business plan competitions, and all of a sudden, all this stuff is coming across the desk that's like biotech related. I'm going, wait a minute, I get this. I know what the hell they're talking about. I can. They're not going to get one past me.
Dallas is like an overnight sensation after 10 years.
I appreciate that, Dallas. Yes, that's the story of all of our lives, But I don't know. Life has a plan for us, and I tend to trust that plan. We'll see where we end up.
So is it fair? So you're not doing exclusively biotech development. It's also material sciences testing. Those are the two main areas, right? Am I missing something?
For the upper part, yes. But then we stumbled upon, hey, we cannot do engineering every time we do a new payload, can we? So that's when we started getting into our own computers, and people needed the same computers because they had the same problems. So we're focusing on the full stack design on the payload, on top experiment in the bottom computer. And those computers are also very useful for mobility and things on the moon as well because they're integrators. So everything is very well connected.
Neat. I like that. Okay.
Yeah, me too. Again,
Is that
universal.
also a way to set standards? You get out there, you be first and best, and you just proliferate. And because you're more proliferate than a lot of other people, it becomes the standard by default.
Right.
Look, if it matched my personal energy, yes. But unfortunately, I have agencies to adopt that standard. We know we love them all, but we know their speed. And
Right.
then we have really big companies that innovation is not something they're comfortable with. So when there's fear-driven organizations, right, the adoption, we know it's a little bit slow.
It'll
That
be
that is
another.
my, that is my stop, right? Not the energy, but the system. So I wish it could go faster. But we'll see what if the agency starts adopting it and big organizations as well. Which
Let's switch gears for a second. You've got 3 labs. You're not in the garage anymore, so congratulations.
thank you.
How big are you? What is your just give me a range on staffing,
Yeah.
contract sizes, how many. You said you're launching to space 3 times this quarter. Did I hear that right?
So we launched 4 missions already since we started the company, and we are launching 3 payloads. We have 1, 2, 3 between Q3 this year and Q1 next year. You know how space is.
We know.
Sometimes vehicles do not cooperate,
Right.
but we try our best. And then we're planning 1 or 2 station rides, not ISS, probably CLDs, and then lunar projects as well. But those last 3 are TBD, right? They're cooking. In terms of size, now we're 10 plus 10 contractors. So if you want to count the 10, you count the 10. If you want to count the 20, count the 20. Whatever you want. And we have 3 labs, 1 for mechanical, 1 for electrical, and another 1 for biological developments. We're in the same building. We keep expanding. I keep on conquering territory like it's Catan. But I think I'll eventually have to move to a factory, and that is my next plan. A factory with a clean room and so on. So that is
You're not moving up to orbit again anytime soon with the whole shit.
Well, we have 1, 2 clients, hopefully this year, 2 projects that go up this year. And a third one in a parabolic flight because it's a test. But orbit probably next year.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, it's around the corner, right? But yeah. And plans to grow is that just consolidate the whole team and everything that we have in different labs right now. Stop conquering the building and get my own. That's the truth. And then I don't know. I'm hoping in next year to become a huge prime. We are a prime technically, right? Because we do have those government contracts, but becoming a big prime and moving from the lower mills to the higher mills, tens of mills probably this year, next year, and then I'm hoping in 3, 4 more years on the hundreds of mills. That should be a decent scale. But we'll see, right? Startups are startups, and it requires me to change faster than the circumstance, right? If you don't change, you can't scale from 1 mil to 10 mil, from 10 mil to 100 mil. So what you don't learn, you don't learn. So, and I've learned in space, you need 3 times more money and 3 times more time that I wanted to originally, right? I also learned that that was a fun learning lesson.
It is getting those first contracts. I'm not going to say it's easy. It's definitely not. But moving from the 500,000 to $1.5 million level of contracts to that 5 and 10
mil mark. You got it.
It's a different animal. It's a different animal, and it's hard. I would guess that you are an acquisition target. Is that something on your radar?
Look, I want to grow the company in a healthy way. I never like raising more than what I am valued at. It's like I'm going to raise 10 mil when I have that 10 mil contract as a mark. I don't like doing over raise if I don't have a good product market fit.
Right.
If I have 3 contracts already from an agency and I'm a repeat customer like I am, it's like, okay, cool. We have a product market fit there. Will I be a good product market fit for DoD? Will I be a good product market fit for other centers? It is to be seen, right? But it is important for me I don't do over race against a lack of product market fit. I don't want to, because I'm older, probably because I'm an older founder, I don't want to have fun with this, right? I take it very seriously. So every second counts. Whenever I'm not working, it's because I'm wasting that time without being with my family. So it's very heavy, that weight.
Yeah.
So I try to build a sustainable company that can go from the 1 million mark to 10 mil, hopefully between this June and next June, right? That's my target, to hit one of those bigger contracts. And I'm learning how to do it, right? It requires my change and it requires navigation of the system that I'm learning how to do.
Yeah, beautiful, brilliant. We're down to our last 4 minutes, so pull out your crystal ball and imagine what does 5 years look like and what does 25 years look like. And that's kind of across the board. Yes, it's eco-atoms, but it's also in-space manufacturing, moon, Mars, orbital. You tell us. What does your crystal ball say?
Crystal ball. This is tough. In my case, the crystal payload. 5 years is not that difficult. I just painted it for you. Is that incremental contract size that gets us to that place where we become a solid prime. I'm loving that you said, we don't know you guys, because that is great. If you don't know me and I have 4 missions in space,
right,
that is awesome. That seems like I'm under the radar for almost all people, but the important people, right? The important people know who I am because they give me the money.
right.
So if I can continue that trajectory for 5 years, bigger factories, bigger contracts, growth, and make that sustainable, that is a great objective. Now, if I can make it public, now that requires that the change from 1 to 10 mil requires me to change.
Mhm.
That then 10 to 100 mil requires a new change. And then the 100 mil to IPO will require a new change for me. So let's see if I have what it takes, right, to take it there. And yeah, becoming a red wire, it will not be an overnight success. It will take 25 years. I get to see it, right? Because that would be kind of my and on a sci-fi level, landing on the moon over the next 3 years and landing on Mars in the next 15, depending on the rocket cadence and their issues, right? I'm the second layer to them, so I'm 100% dependent on that. Yeah, that's my crystal payload.
Cool. Thank you very much, Dr. Massa.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, see, and now that we do know who you are, we will be watching.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You only know part of who I am.
Well, and we will
That's
find
for the
out as time goes on. I'm absolutely sure. You seem to be pretty open about everything, so it won't take long.
We're all having fun, are we?
Yes, we are all having fun, and so now we know about you, and you know about us, and we hope we'll have you on again.
Thank you.
Sometime in the near future.
Yeah.
Dr. Solange Massa, thank you so much for being with us. And if you want, stick around. We'll have a little chat after the show.
All right.
And it's nice to have you. This has been a great talk, and I love what you're doing. And best of luck.
Thanks. Likewise.
Okay. That was amazing. That was very enjoyable. Monday, Kristen Savage from the Luna One project will be with us. I'm dying to know what that's all about and where that's going to be going.
It's one of the biggest moon-focused missions out there.
Okay.
It's pretty fascinating. Yeah.
Okay, that's very good. So for the missing Sean Key again, And for Michael Lane, I remain Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.